Okay, how you doing? My name is Adrian. I'm the instructor for Kinesiology 214. This video is going to be an overview of the syllabi for the course and also an overview of the layout of the course. So let me get myself out of the way here. If we look at the syllabi, the syllabi itself serves on a couple different fronts. And it serves in terms of being an informational document regarding the course, informational document regarding resources on campus. It's also informational regarding kind of like the relationship between the student, the college, and the instructor. So the course itself, we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Our primary meeting place will be M 2012. It's in the front part of M, and when you walk into the building, you have a front desk there. If you get lost or confused on where to go, just ask the people at the front desk. They'll be happy to guide you. We will have some meeting locations where we meet in the actual fitness center down the hallway, but it'll be primarily M 2012 and with some meeting times done in the fitness center. This is a blended format class, meaning I deliver content online through Blackboard and video presentations much like this, but we also have in-person deliverables, the terminology we use in the education field, for the students that we do in the classroom. And we do primarily our lab work on campus and a lot of our lecture off campus, but there's no doubt there'll be some lecture in the classroom in 2012. All right. So to that end, you're going to have to be able to get through and understand how to function within Blackboard and be able to operate within the Blackboard shell. Beyond that, there'll be plenty of presentations that are on PowerPoint. You have to be able to function in that environment. And to that end, you have to make sure you have good internet access. A little bit further down, here's my information. Please, you can feel free to refer to me as Adrian. That's fine. People call me coach, instructor, professor. Totally fine as long as Adrian is part of it. I have a number on campus, though I never use it. I don't think I've ever checked it. I don't have an office on campus, therefore I don't have a desk, and I don't have a phone sitting on a desk, so I never ever use this number. The best way is this right here. Please note that my email address is afleische, F-L-E-I-S-H-E, though my last name is Fleischer. When I started at Harper, it only allowed X amount of characters in the email address, and so it cut off my last letter of my last name. And many times people will say, Professor Fleisch. It's like, well, that's not my name. But just realize that even though my last name is Fleischer, the email is afleisch at Harper College. That is the best way to get a hold of me. That is the best way to track me down. And reason is, like I said, I'm an adjunct. I don't have an office on campus. I don't have a phone. Send me an email, usually within 24 hours, but I can tell you that's usually much, much, much shorter than that. You'll send me something during the week and I'll get back to you probably within the hour. Further down, important dates. We know the semester begins on the 18th. First class is on the 19th. And then we have these two dates. And I always like to point these out. Last day to drop for a refund and last day to withdraw from the course. I hope you don't find yourself in this situation where you have to drop the course. And if you feel like you're overwhelmed or challenged and you're not able to be successful in the course or you missed a bunch of days, come see me first before you go ahead and try to drop the course, because many times we can resolve that issue through makeup assignments, etc. So you don't have to take the hit on the course financially if, say, you're planning on dropping after August 25th. So, I'm of the opinion that we can find a way to kind of accommodate and help you through the course as opposed to just having you drop the course and have to retake it. I think that's silly. Now, note what we have here. We know Thanksgiving is on Thursday, the 27th. The college lists Wednesday, the 26th as Thanksgiving holiday, meaning if you have a Wednesday class on campus, doesn't affect us, but if you have a Wednesday class, you won't have class that day. Wednesday, the 26th, campus is closed. We know we're closed on Thanksgiving and we're closed on that Friday. So that week, you'll see in the layout further down, we would normally have class on a Tuesday. I usually use that as kind of a flex day because I understand some of my students are in winter sports. Maybe they're traveling to some type of event. People want to travel to get home. People need a day just to breathe and kind of make up some work. And so I use that Tuesday before as kind of a flex day in my courses historically, just to allow students to do that. We get back on December 1st, and when we get back on the 1st, we then get into final exam week rather quickly, and we have a quick kind of like ramping back up to be able to do the final exam and the final practical exam. So let's go down here a little further. The course itself, we're going to have hands-on instruction regarding resistance training. We'll talk about different modalities, the basic kind of functional anatomy and physiology. As I mentioned, we have these kind of broad topical areas within this course, and we'll hit on these 5 different areas in these 5 different modules that I'll mention. If we scroll down a little bit further, here's our book. And the textbook itself is Exercise Technique Manual for Resistance Training. That's your ISBN. You can find the book using that, or you can just control click here and it'll take you right out to the bookstore. Again, I can't stress this enough, in terms of how this course is set up. You have to be functional in Blackboard. You have to be able to understand how to open up and operate PowerPoint slides, YouTube videos, etc., and have a good internet connection, whether it's on campus or in your apartment or at your home. And material will be delivered through these mediums, as well as you'll have access to online video library that will be provided with your book. Let's take this a little bit further down. As I just alluded to, we have these 5 main content areas that are going to be approximately 3 weeks apiece. It's a little bit wonky, if I can use a technical term, because of the way Thanksgiving falls and the way the finals week falls at the end of the term. But it's going to be roughly 3 weeks apiece, give or take, maybe 2. We'll see how this shakes out. And when we look at the different broad areas, it'll be kind of like anatomy and physiology, exercise modalities, training methodology and programming, client intake and evaluation, and communication. So these are kind of like the broad topical areas we'll hit in this course. Be primarily video format, as well as me lecturing in the classroom, and we're going to have hands-on in the lab or the fitness center. If we take this down a little bit further, we get the rubric. Now, the grading rubric itself kind of outlines the different areas, how many assignments, how many points, how many total points. So you can see here, like a check for learning, lab assignments, and post and response. We're at roughly 1 a week for each one of those. We have a midterm, and then we have a practical final, and then we have a final itself. So just realize that you're going to have some hands-on work that you'll be graded on, and you also have a written final at the end. So to that end, if you want to get on the A train, you have to get 90% or better. You need 405 points. So you can use this to kind of help you strategize how you're going to get to your 405 or better. And believe me when I tell you, I've had many students where they're at like 403 and they're 2 points away from getting the A, and they may have just missed one of their post and response assignments, and they make it up and they end up getting the A instead of the B, and that can matter. So it comes down to communication between you and I to make that magic happen. You can read through the descriptions for each one of the above that are listed in this rubric, but I'm not going to belabor the point here. Take it a little bit further down. A lot of the assignments you're going to do, because they're lab oriented and you're working with a partner, they won't be able to be made up, and it'll be a bit of a challenge. So I urge you to find a way to get to class. I understand batteries die, tires go flat, you have illness in the family, you may be sick, and you may have to send me an email saying I can't make it today. But we have to find a way for you to get to class to be able to accumulate those points to get you on the A train. I want to note this. When you get down here into this section, we start talking about some of the policies on campus, and this is basically the voice of the college itself speaking to you, saying, all right, we have these things regarding academic dishonesty, equal opportunity statements, etc. What I want to point out is, cheating, and they've changed the verbiage in here. Unauthorized materials, information, or technology, including artificial intelligence, chatbots, and etc. I can tell you that the verbiage on that is changing to include stuff like OpenAI or large language models. I will use LLM, I'll use ChatGPT, I'll use those as a tool to help me review and revise much of my course material, just because it's so darn good at doing that. But I openly disclose that I use that as a tool. So here's the thing. If you do a post and response and you source material that you pull from ChatGPT, and I go and I cross-reference that material or the reference that you use from ChatGPT, and it's a non-existent source, you get 0 points because it's plagiarism. And I've had that happen in other classes where people did a cut and paste right from ChatGPT, and they cut it right and they paste it right into the submission window in Blackboard, and I do a cut and paste of their reference material, and it's non-existent, 0. They get no points for that. So just realize, if you do use something like ChatGPT and you do have a reference that's provided, cross-reference your reference to make sure it's valid. And then also take the time to note that you used large language model or ChatGPT to help you in your research, to help you find your answer. Then it becomes legit. Otherwise, it's plagiarism, and plagiarism gets big old fat zeros for grades. So let's go ahead and scroll on down a little bit further. You can read through this at your leisure regarding student conduct, where the dispute resolution resources are, email, etc. When we get a little bit further down, here's another section, student support resources. And I always like to highlight this for a minute or two because, you know, you are in probably the most resource-rich environment you'll ever be in your life, unless you go to U of I or Northwestern, you know, or you go to another college campus after Harper. And you have these resources that are here for your benefit. So, for example, in something like this, where you have Hawks Care, you can reach out to Hawks Care if you have issues with housing insecurity, food insecurity. Maybe you have an issue with your car not working and you need alternative transportation to campus, any number of different things. You know, you can use Hawks Care as a great resource. We have great counseling services on campus, and you can go ahead and look at this list of resources if you ever need them. So my point to you is, as you go through this syllabi, it's not a throwaway document. This is in every single course that you take at Harper. You have these resources in place, so you never have to go searching for them. You can just look back to your syllabi to find them. And I also stress this all the time. Because of all these resources that you have on campus, all of us, you never ever need to suffer in silence, right? You never ever need to just sit there and just be in angst because you have housing insecurity, food insecurity, or you know, you're having psychological or emotional issue that you need help kind of muddling through with a therapist. You have those resources quite literally at your disposal on this campus. You just need to utilize this document as a tool to help you source those. All right, guys, so I'm going to scroll through these. I really don't need to go through all of them, but you know, everything from like this, Academic Support Center, to ADS are kind of key because with the ADS, I'll just point this out. Like if you have an IEP or you have some type of assistance that's provided through the college in the ADS area of the college, I'll know about it already before class starts. So what happens is this. So if a student needs help with a quiz or taking a test, I would prefer to read that test or read that quiz to the student, because if that student has a question in the moment, I can answer it in the moment. Somebody who might be helping you in a testing center, they may not be able to actually help you out and have the answer for you in that moment. So if you do have any kind of accommodations, please let me know and I will accommodate as best I can. Computer labs on campus, job placement center if you're looking for a JOB or need help writing a resume. You know, this is just a mountain of resources. Library, don't ever discount them because they are quite good at helping you find different resources for different papers or assignments for other courses or even this one. Things like military veterans, etc. You can use QR codes to take you out to the one stop or just use the one stop link out. Great stuff on campus, guys. So let's get into this. Exercise, technique, and instruction. As I mentioned, you have a 16-week course, right? And you have a finals week at the end. The way this breaks out is we have the topics and the outcome, and we have the book pages on the bottom here. And you'll notice, like when I did this before, and I wrote this course originally, I wrote this content alphabetically: arms, back, chest, core, legs, shoulders, just how I did it. I copied this over and I kind of retooled it for our course. So in this class, you will have some reading time that you have with the book, and realize you're going to have some post and response, check for learning lab. It's going to follow pretty much a straight line approach. For week 7, you're doing 7. And then when you do a practical, then we jump out to week 9, you're post and response 8, check for learning 8, lab 8. The due dates are all over here to the right. Pretty straightforward. I think you can figure it out. Once we get down here, we have more program design. Then we get into program design and then how you interact with clients and how you interact with people in a coach setting. And then further down, we have a practical exam with a review, Thanksgiving week, and then we come back, we do the practical exam one week, and you have the final exam the next week. All right, guys, I want to keep this under 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off from this and move on to my next video. Thanks, guys.